Well, I know Willie Brown very well. In fact, I went down in a helicopter with him. We thought maybe this is the end. We were in a helicopter going to a certain location together, and there was an emergency landing. This was not a pleasant landing, and Willie was, he was a little concerned. So I know him pretty well. I mean, I haven't seen him in years. But he told me terrible things about her. But this is what you're telling me anyway.
Welcome back. That was former President Donald Trump recounting what appeared to be a harrowing near-death experience during his news conference yesterday, except it seems it really didn't happen the way he described it. Willie Brown is the former mayor of San Francisco who dated Kamala Harris in the 90s. He told the San Francisco Chronicle that he's never been in a helicopter with Donald Trump. Trump appears to have confused Willie Brown with Jerry Brown, the former governor of California. Then President Trump did ride in a helicopter with Jerry Brown in 2018, but a representative for Brown says there was no emergency landing, and they also didn't discuss Kamala Harris. Joining me now on our panel, Capitol Hill reporter for The Washington Post, Rhonda Colvin, former Democratic mayor of Ithaca, New York, and president and CEO of the American Way, Svante Myrick, and Republican strategist Brad Todd. So, Rhonda, when I saw President Trump go down this road with Willie Brown and Jerry Brown, it didn't really make sense at the time. And I kept thinking to myself, if this was Joe Biden answering this question during that window of time where everyone was asking whether or not he had the competency to remain president, there would have been an unbelievable amount of outrage. Is Donald Trump getting the same treatment that Joe Biden is getting when it comes to something like this?
It doesn't appear to be as widespread as it was. That's an excellent point, because you would expect that he would have gotten the same treatment that Biden did. You know, Biden was stumbling over words, but there was nothing to the degree of the tape you just showed. So it is a little concerning. I don't think that the former president is getting that same attention on the things that he is saying. That may change, though. I mean, we still have a debate to go, you know, when he is not in the forefront of the news as well, and he probably won't be during the week of the DNC. He usually says or does things that people may find concerning. So I don't think it's over yet, but no, he's not seeming to get that same
treatment. Isn't it also a problem that it's not just that he mixed up the names, he just outright lied about the experience, right? And there doesn't seem to be an accounting for that.
Yeah, it doesn't. It also sort of shows, and we saw this throughout that entire news conference, that he is a bit frustrated right now, that it appears that his campaign, even though it was reported that, you know, Democrats were trying to push Biden out, you would expect that the Trump campaign may have been prepared for a switch, but it doesn't seem that they're finding their footing with this switch yet. And I think that story and all the other things that he said as well are sort of illustrative of the fact that they are still trying to figure out their strategy right now in going up against the Harris momentum.
Brad, if Joe Biden had told that story a week after the debate, what would you have thought of it?
Well, I don't know that if Joe Biden was telling a lot of stories at that time that he wasn't performing very well on. I think the bigger issue is that Kamala Harris is not doing press conferences. She's not taking questions. She said she might do an interview where she takes questions maybe later this month, at the end of the month.
We'll get to that, and we'll talk all about that. And you're right, that's an issue that we have to adjudicate. But this specific thing, the cognitive function of Joe Biden was such a massive issue for quite a long time, and all the same criticism. He'd mess up names. He'd tell stories that weren't 100% accurate. Republicans pillared him for that. Democrats pillared him for that.
I have a critique for yesterday's press conference, and that's that it's not focused near enough on what Kamala Harris has said she would do as president. Donald Trump, if he's going to win this election, he has to make it about what Kamala Harris has said she would do. She ran for president in 2020. She said every left-wing California thing in the book. He has to remind people about it. He has to be laser focused.
But what about the lying and mixing up names and things like that?
He has to be laser focused on her record. And I agree with Rhonda that he has not seemed to grasp that as his central strategy yet at this point. He wants to. It's more about her personally. He has to get off that. He has to make it back about what she said she would do as president.
So, Svante, are Democrats not talking about this enough?
No, we're not talking about it enough. And I think, Brad, my colleague here, just said all the words that are true. He is not grasping what's important. He is not focused on what's important. He is not disciplined. I don't think that was just one press conference. I'm not sure he can. I think his hearing is slipping, to be honest. If you watch the press conference, it's pretty clear that he cannot hear as well as he did. Why is he not wearing hearing aids? Is it vanity? He is not as focused as he was even 8 years ago. He is, to be honest, a little bit stranger than he was 8 years ago. His rambling, he's always rambled. It is true that Donald Trump has a liar's advantage, right? Everybody knows that he's a liar. Everybody knows that he fibs, that he exaggerates, that he's a developer, he's a showman. So in 2015, he would fib and exaggerate. And I think that is hiding some amount of cognitive decline. It is clear that he is not functioning at the level he was 8 years ago. But because we are so used to his lying and exaggeration, we are, I think, missing the plot. Something seems to be wrong with a 78-year-old candidate for president.
We don't know. We don't have official records that show cognitive decline. This is just your opinion, but I take your point.
Yes.
But to Brad's point, Donald Trump did put himself out there. He answered questions for more than an hour. That's something Kamala Harris hasn't done since she took the nomination.
Yeah.
Does she need to do that, and how soon?
I think she needs to do it for sure in the next week or so. I think there's a pretty good reason she has not, which is that...
But why is she getting away with it? Why is the press letting her get away with it?
Well, we're not letting her get away with it. We're talking about it right now.
Yeah, and here's why I think the press...
conversation.
Well, here's why I think the press is letting her get away with it.
We're not letting her get away with it.
Right.
I've talked about it every day
We
this week.
we're not going to show up and cover her events if she doesn't take
Let's be
questions.
honest about it. Let's be honest.
I just want to make this clear.
Let's be very honest.
No one is letting her off the hook for this.
That's right.
Her events are on
all
television
asking it.
without
right.
question.
No, but
Then
Donald
Brad,
Trump
here's the
does a million events where he doesn't take questions. That's not fair.
But
the press
Brad, here's the
wants
context. Here's the
her
context.
to
Because
do an interview.
we didn't just fall out of a coconut tree. What's the context
Yeah.
here? The context is, if somebody doesn't do a press conference for 2 weeks, you ask yourself why. Is it because they're hiding something? Is it because they're afraid of answering questions? What has the last 2 weeks in Kamala Harris's life been like? The most intense of any American politician ever. This is the latest change in a party ticket. She raised hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in just 2 weeks. She had to pick a vice president, and she's drawing record crowds. She has been busy.
She's not
it's
saying
not that
anything
she's
that's not on the
hiding.
teleprompter.
It's not that she's hiding a cognitive decline of a
campaign's
man in the
afraid to let her
70s.
have a free thought.
Okay,
If you think
Brad,
she's afraid, I would be.
Every single event Donald Trump does has a teleprompter. I'm not going to get into this whole teleprompter.
And he doesn't
debate.
use it all the time.
That's not true. Well,
She will do. I predict that she will, of course, do sit-down
I don't
interviews
know
and
if
press
the
conferences.
being
Well, she has a history of flubbing press conferences. She has a history of saying crazy things. She has left-wing things.
Brad, you're
That's why they're not
going to
letting
accuse
her.
Kamala Harris of saying crazy things at a press conference?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. Left-wing crazy
All right,
things.
we're going to move on because this is like we're not making any progress here. Let's, Rhonda, let's go to a different conversation, which also may go off the rails, and that's about the debate. Initially, Donald Trump said any time, any place. Then he said he wasn't going to debate. Now he wants to debate 3 different times on different networks. It does look like we're going to have at least one debate on ABC in early September. What do you think it's going to look like, and what could be the outcome of that?
Well, I think just looking at the career of Kamala Harris, she doesn't have a problem debating. I covered her on the Hill when she was on Senate Judiciary, when she would question in her line of questioning, specifically when she was a part of the confirmation process of Trump's, the first members of his cabinet. She was pretty tough. Everyone kind of like braced themselves when she started questioning. We saw how she performed when she was up against the former Vice President Pence. She also was a primary candidate. So I think she's sort of well-versed in how to strategize a debate, make it work for her. But I think when any candidate goes up against former President Trump, there is going to be a level of strategy because he is somewhat of an unpredictable character that you don't know what type of Trump you might get at that debate. So I'm interested to see when we do get to this debate how she'll perform. Is she, dialing anything down? Is she dialing anything up? She's really going to have to figure out how she can land that because it is now, we're days away from the election, under 100 days, and by then we'll be weeks away. So that's going to be an incredibly important debate. And we'll see if there are the other 2 that he mentioned he wants to do. But, at least one is on the books.
Is one enough, Brad? We're less than a minute, but is one enough?
I think that he'll do as many as she will do.
Yeah. And Svante, what about you?
I think she'll do more. I think the split screen only works for the Democratic Party between her and this, near octogenarian. And she is an extremely sharp and focused and disciplined questioner. The debates will go very, very well for Kamala Harris.
As you can see, I'm a little spunky on a Friday, so I apologize if we got a little too fiery here today. But that's part of the game, right? Thank you, guys. I appreciate y'all being here. Enjoy your weekend. Thank you so much, Rhonda, Svante, and Brad. And thanks. We're going to be back next week with more Meet the Press Now. But NBC News Now coverage continues with Yamiche Alcindor, who's in for Hallie Jackson right now.